What if I told you that the biggest crypto boom in American history did not start with Bitcoin developers, not with Silicon Valley, not even with Wall Street, but with a man who once called Bitcoin a scam? What if I told you that in less than a year, crypto went from being hunted by regulators to being protected by the White House? That lawsuits vanished, billions flooded in, and the President of the United States openly called himself the first crypto president. This is not a theory. This is not hype. This already happened. And today, we are going to unpack how Donald Trump's return to power triggered a historic explosion in crypto, who made fortunes, who took the risks, and why some experts believe this could either define the future of finance or end in one of the biggest regulatory disasters ever. Stay until the end, because the most controversial part of this story has nothing to do with Bitcoin prices. Just a few years ago, Donald Trump hated crypto publicly. He called Bitcoin a scam. He said cryptocurrencies were created out of thin air. He warned they could undermine the US dollar and fuel criminal activity. At that time, his stance was clear. Crypto was dangerous, unstable, and unnecessary. So what changed? The answer is simple: power and money. During the presidential campaign leading into the election of 2024, the crypto industry made a strategic decision. Instead of fighting Washington, it decided to buy influence. And it worked. Crypto companies, funds, and political action committees became the single largest corporate donor group of that election cycle. Together, they poured hundreds of millions of dollars into political campaigns, more than oil, more than gas, and more than pharmaceuticals combined. By Inauguration Day, crypto had secured its seat at the table. And within days of returning to office, Trump did something no president had ever done before. He signed an executive order declaring that the United States would become the global capital of digital assets. Just like that, crypto went from the enemy to the favored industry. To understand how big this shift was, you need to understand what crypto looked like before. Under the previous administration, the Securities and Exchange Commission used what many called regulation through enforcement. Instead of clear rules, crypto companies faced lawsuits. Coinbase, Kraken, Ripple, OpenSea. Even companies trying to comply were dragged into court. But then Trump returned, and everything flipped. A new chairman was appointed to the SEC, someone openly connected to the crypto world. And suddenly, lawsuits started disappearing, one by one. The most shocking moment came when the SEC officially withdrew its lawsuit against Coinbase. Not because Coinbase won, but because the regulator said it was reconsidering its approach to crypto regulation. That single sentence sent a signal across the world. Crypto was no longer under attack. It was under protection. Banks that had been afraid to touch digital assets suddenly rushed in. Wall Street noticed, and venture capital followed. By the middle of the year, the numbers became impossible to ignore. Venture capital funding into crypto reached levels not seen since the peak bull market. In a single quarter, investors poured more than $10 billion into crypto startups. By the end of the year, total funding surpassed $19 billion, with forecasts pointing toward more than $25 billion. But this time was different. This wasn't just speculation. This money came from institutions, from long-term funds, from players who believed crypto was no longer a fringe experiment. It was becoming infrastructure. Prediction markets, stablecoins, tokenized assets, blockchain-based finance. Crypto was no longer trying to replace the system. It was merging with it. Regulatory support alone was not enough. The administration needed laws, and it got them. The most important was a bill that finally defined stablecoins. For the first time in US history, digital dollars received a clear legal framework. They were officially recognized as payment instruments, not securities, not experimental tokens. This single law unlocked enormous growth. Analysts projected the stablecoin market to grow from hundreds of billions to nearly $2 trillion within the decade. Another law clarified which digital assets were commodities and which were securities. For crypto developers, this was the moment of relief. No more guessing, no more fear that a token would suddenly be declared illegal. At the same time, the government blocked the creation of a central bank digital currency. Instead of a state-controlled digital dollar, private crypto innovation was given the green light. The message was clear. America chose decentralization, at least for now. The next domino was inevitable: institutional adoption. Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, approved earlier, finally exploded in popularity. By the end of the year, dozens of crypto-linked ETFs managed over $150 billion. One fund alone surpassed $50 billion in assets. Retirement accounts followed. Pension funds began exploring Bitcoin exposure. Major asset managers adjusted their strategies. What once seemed impossible was now routine. Crypto was no longer rebel finance, it was mainstream. And this is where the story turns uncomfortable. Because while the government was reshaping crypto policy, the president's family was deeply involved in crypto business, a decentralized finance platform, a stablecoin, a personal meme token. Together, these ventures generated hundreds of millions of dollars. Some estimates place total family crypto profits above $1 billion. Ethics experts sounded the alarm. Never before had a US president directly benefited financially from an industry he actively regulated. Supporters argued everything was legal. Critics called it the worst conflict of interest in modern presidential history, and the debate exploded. With rapid growth came real risks. Meme tokens soared and crashed. Retail investors lost money. Scams multiplied. Decentralized exchanges processed billions daily with minimal oversight. Lawmakers warned about money laundering, terrorist financing, and national security risks. When massive hacks occurred, the consequences were immediate. Prices collapsed in hours. Billions were liquidated. Millions of traders were wiped out. Crypto was powerful, but fragile. Trump's return to power triggered one of the most dramatic shifts in financial history. Crypto went from hunted to protected, from speculative to institutional, from niche to global infrastructure. But the story is far from over. This could be remembered as the moment America secured its leadership in digital finance, or as the moment politics and personal interests pushed innovation too far. One thing is certain: crypto is no longer a side experiment. It is now deeply intertwined with power, money, and the future of the global economy. And whatever happens next will affect far more than investors. It will affect all of us.